What's up, Kryptonians? Welcome to one of my final videos of the year. Today, I'm going to be talking about a movie called Promising Young Woman. It recently had a limited theater release right before Christmas, and it is directed by a woman named Emerald Fennell. I think I got her name right. She also wrote this movie and produced it alongside Margot Robbie, and this is a film that stars Carey Mulligan, Clancy Brown, Adam Brody. The only thing I'm willing to say about the story this time is that Carey Mulligan is a young woman in this movie who is plotting a certain course of revenge towards certain people in and around her life that has to do with some kind of traumatic event in her past. And that is really all you need to know for a movie like this. Gotta start out praising the one thing that above all else in this movie shines, beyond the script, the direction, and all the other good things about it, which I will get to in a second. Carey Mulligan is just, oh my God, she's so captivating in this movie. It's easily one of her best career performances. I've always thought that she was good in a lot of the things I've seen her in. Like, I've always walked away from movies that she's in and I'm like, okay, Carey Mulligan was pretty good in this movie, but in this movie, holy shit. Her character is very complicated and there's a lot of different layers to that character. So her performance kind of has to reflect that, the highs and the lows emotionally that this character goes through. Throughout the course of this story, I mean, sometimes she has to play a character that has this really biting, dry, dark sense of sarcasm, but at the same time, there's a certain vulnerability to her character, a certain emotional vulnerability that she has to tap into. So given that, there are a lot of interesting highs and lows that her performance takes you to on the full range of the emotional spectrum, and I gotta give it to her. She brought it every scene in this movie. She is basically the thing that is carrying this movie. Not to say that she's the only good thing about this movie, but definitely she's the best thing about it. Some big name actors that you've seen and heard from before who maybe don't have big roles in this movie, but for what they're asked to do in the screen time that they're there, they do a pretty decent job. I do want to shout out my man Clancy Brown, the voice of Lex Luthor for all those years on the Justice League animated series. I mean, he was really good in this movie. He plays the father of Carey Mulligan's character. I really want to shout out the first-time director because she's almost as big a star of this movie as Carey Mulligan is. It's always great to find a new filmmaker, a new director, somebody who is forming their directorial debut, and they knock it so far out of the park that it makes you interested to see what else they have going forward. It's directed so well that it's like, how has this woman not been making movies her entire life? There is excellent camera work here. Visually, the movie is gorgeous to look at. It's one of the last movies I get to say this about to end the year. It is eggs on a tit beautiful. I love what she did with the color correction in this movie. There's a lot of contrast between the dark colors and the bright colors, and a lot of it is used within scenes to convey different feelings of emotion, different moments of darkness or drama or even comedy. This is a script that has to balance a lot of different tones because there's a lot of different subgenres in this movie. Like, at times it's a thriller, at times it's a romance, at times it's a drama. There are certain elements of this film that feel like a dark comedy in some spaces. So when you look at it from that whole perspective and you see like all the different things that this movie has to do, the different hats that this director has to wear, you really do have to praise the script and the screenplay. Like, it's one of the best I've seen this year. It would have been easy for this movie to be a tonal mess, and for the most part, it really isn't. When the movie needs to be serious, it's serious and you believe it and you buy it. When the movie is funny, you're laughing out loud. More importantly, this movie is about something. Without getting too into it, although if you've seen the trailer, you kind of have a decent sense of what the movie is trying to say with its messages. It has a lot of things that it's trying to say about rape culture and about not just the monsters who perpetuate this type of cycle of sexual violence against women or whatever, the people that take advantage of women in compromised situations. Often when situations like this come up, people are uncomfortable with it. People don't want to talk about it. People want to kind of look the other way, or people want to try to excuse certain behavior. This movie does deal a lot with some of the excuses that people have built up in their minds or that they say to try to protect people. The things that people say, like, oh, they were young, or it happened a long time ago, or whatever. It wasn't that big a deal. This movie is just kind of showing you that there's always another side to that, and there's always a side where you have to take the victims into account. I have but a few nitpicks about this movie, and one of them I think does affect my enjoyment of the movie, but weirdly not my rating, and I don't know how that happened, but it is what it is. There's one section of the movie that I do feel like slowed down a little bit. It's kind of a romance montage. I wasn't bored during it. It is the part of the movie where you can feel like the story just kind of sits there and waits to get started again. I don't want to give away too much of it because, again, it is spoiler territory. You do understand why she feels the way she feels. You understand why she's doing what she's doing, but there is a point in the movie where you look back at some of her actions and some of the things that she's doing to some of these guys and you're like, okay, but what is the the plan? Like, what is the result of the action that you're taking? Like, I wish the movie was a little bit more clear on that. The biggest problem with this movie is the ending. And to be clear, it is going to be a divisive ending. People are going to either love this ending or hate it. This is the type of ending that's going to affect your enjoyment of the film. And it did for me, because while I was okay with the ending, it was kind of unsatisfactory for me. The way that the film builds and the way that it leads into things, you would think it's going a certain direction, which is a strength of the story, honestly, because there's a lot of good twists and turns here for you to follow. But at the same time, when you get to the ending, you can't help but feel like the air just got let out of your balloon. And so that did affect my enjoyment, but I don't hate it, even though I could see why other people would hate the ending for this movie. It's one of those movies that I think I'm going to be thinking about for a long time. Promising Young Woman was actually one of the surprises of the year for me, and I'm going to give this one my highest rating of Superman Prime. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Give me your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.